Hey everybody, this is Tony again. Finally back with another deck video. Today I'm getting a head start in English with a Saekano Flat deck. I'm looking forward to playing Saekano Flat unrestricted since the deck has a bunch of really fun mechanics, but I got into Weiss too late to really play it before it got hit with the restriction. I didn't really have a chance to jump into it until after Fine was already released in JP. As usual, I will start with my typical disclaimer. This is my deck according to my playstyle, and you might not see as much mileage with it, but the foundation is there, and I'll try my best to include different ratios that may work better for you. I'm working off of Encore decks today, since I don't have all of the flat cards in JP. My current deck is actually built with cards from Fine. So let's jump right in with level 0. Our first card is Nostalgic Memory Entity. This card is an easy 4-of. The card's huge value is one of the reasons why the deck was so strong in JP. On play, she gives another character 2k power, and on reverse, she is a drop searcher that goes to memory. So not only does she have a pretty big unrestricted power pump to get over your opponent's field, but she also pays out dirty stock. Hand fixes. Whittles down your first deck, and she compresses your deck both by going to memory and by ripping a character out of it. This card is not just a card for the early game. You'll find yourself using it at every point in the game. If you play the deck enough times, you're going to see it all the time because of the crazy high value in playing the card. Next up is Unexpected Gift Izumi, another level 0 with quite a bit of value. Izumi is a mill runner who you can pay 1 and send a memory to top check 4 for a character. So you have a coin flip plusing 0 that can also pay out dirty stock. Provides memory compression, a 5-card mill. Like most of the zeros in the set, works very well with an event that we're going to talk about later. I run this Izumi as a 3-of in favor of a strong tech card, which is a level 1 Aerie that we will see later, but the majority of decks actually run this as a 4-of. Now, moving on to our first Utaha card, Betrayal and Farewell Utaha. When another character attacks, she gets 1k power, and as a pay 1, send a memory JC, which means that when your other character is front attack, she can bounce that character back to your hand if you pay the cost. So when attacking last, she is a base 2500 power level 0 that can hand plus and give you even more memory compression. This card provides a hand plus, and yet again you have more and more and more memory compression. It can also help save your game if you are unable to chain your level 1 bar combo. So yet again, we get some pretty big value here. This card is also a 4-of because of the value and the ability to keep your early and mid game going even when you can't find a bar climax. Now, in the interest of hitting each of the 4 major girls in a row, we'll move on to the first Kato card, which is a Brainstorm. First Emotion Megami. One of the most fun cards in the deck because of the shenanigans she gets up to, along with the other cards and what I'm going to call a changed train. As I already stated, she is a Brainstorm, but not the only Brainstorm. Her first effect actually has you sack her to spawn another Kato from grave that is also a Brainstorm if you're level 1 or higher, and she is a tap self-search Brainstorm. She also starts off a changed train that makes for some fun shenanigans involving both Brainstorms and the previously mentioned event. On the surface, the card might not seem all that great as, it's a Brainstorm, but the synergy with other cards is amazing. And it is also mostly a tech card for use with the level 1 Brainstorm and the event, and to get some early mill and pluses, so I'm really only playing this as a 3-of. You're mostly going to see it as a 3-of in most other deck builds as well. Now the next 2 cards can cause some ratio controversy, or even with just playing one or the other and not both in the same deck. I'm still debating how I want to handle these, and it is going to require some testing. But the first of the two is and with reliable senior Utaha, we have when you play a climax, you can bounce her back to your hand in order to pump one of your characters by 1,000 power, and she is also an Amagi, which means that on climax play you can pay 1 to top check up to 4 for any character or a trait character. But so there is an obvious value in the power pump to try to scale your opponent's board, as well as a hand plus and the mill from the Amagi effect. At the moment, this is not a card that I'm just going to drop in the back row every game, I don't think. So I am teching it in as a one of. But depending on testing it, you easily grow to a 3 or 4 of. And the last 0 is the Night Together Utaha. This is a type of Ricky card, and in this case, it is a pay 1, send the top card of your deck to clock, and send this to memory in order to salvage a trait character. So she can help push to level 1, she can hand plus, and yet again, she's providing memory compression. I think you see a certain subject going on in this deck constantly here. I currently prefer this card over the Amagi due to the hand plus, the salvage, the memory compression, and she's a pretty good red fix. I'm currently teching this as a 3 of, but as with the previous Utaha, this card could be anywhere from a 0 to 4 after testing. I'm really thinking about getting more into this Amagi Utaha right now because of the synergy she has with some of the other cards we're about to see. So, time for the level 1s. We'll start off with the Climax combo. This is Swaying Heart Megumi. This Kato gets an extra 1k continuously if you have 2 or more other trait characters, so she is usually going to be 5,500 base power. Her Climax combo says that when the bar is played, if you have another character, she gains 2 abilities until the end of your opponent's turn. She gets Twin Drive, and when she is front attack, you can bounce her back to your hand. So she has a hand plus that can prevent the opponent's reverse effects, can avoid losing board on defense, and is on a bar, so relatively good chance of being repeatable since she bounces back to hand, and every time you trigger a bar, you can bounce that to hand. The twin Drive is also an advantage that can help with the inherent disadvantages of the card. When your opponent has a wall, and in order for her to plus, you have to side attack so that she survives long enough to bounce back. The Twin Drive gives her a chance of actually dealing damage on a side attack against any standby or early play level 2s, and also helps search for bar triggers in order to chain her combo repeatedly. Then with the 0s that we profiled earlier, there's a real chance that she could be swinging for 8-5 to 9-5 power. Not necessarily enough to deal with standby decks, but still nothing to sneeze at. Obviously, this is a 4 of. Next, we'll play with a tech card. The one that I put in over a 4th copy of that mill runner we looked at earlier. This is leveraging Defeat Eriri. If you have a card in memory, she gets an extra 2,500 on your turn and gains an extra 6,000 when she attacks a level 2 or higher. So she becomes at least 12,500 when attacking 2s and 3s. And it wouldn't be strange to see her swinging for 14,500 or more, which can be helpful in disrupting an opponent playing standby or a heavy early play deck. Right now I'm running this as a 1 of. I would actually like to have more of these, but the ratios are extremely tight in this deck. Now, we'll move on to the other Brainstorm, Emotional Explosion Megami. This is a card that the level 0 Brainstorm summons from grave. She gives 500 power to characters in front of her and is another tap self search Brainstorm. And if you are level 2 or higher, you can pay 1 and send her to memory to spawn the 3rd card in this change train, which we will see shortly. So there are a number of ways that this card can be used, including if you need to pay out dirty stock, mill out your deck, try to mill a specific card into your waiting room, or continue the train. And she also provides even more memory compression. One of my favorite things to do is a brainstorm chain with this. In order to accomplish one of the scenarios that I mentioned, you can brainstorm with the level 0 brainstorm, then you can change into this level 1 brainstorm, then brainstorm again. Then, if you have not accomplished your goal, but you have another level of brainstorm in your hand, or you just searched for one off of the level 1 brainstorm, then you can play over the level 1 brainstorm with the level 0 brainstorm with the level 0 again, change into the level 1 brainstorm again, and brainstorm with the level 1 brainstorm again. So you can chain this for as long as your resources hold out in order to accomplish whatever your goal with this train might be. And as we're about to see, she has yet another card that has amazing synergy with this deck's only event card. I run this card as a 4-of because of the amazing synergy with other cards and because she is part of the change train that eventually leads to your level 3 combo. And now we get to what might be the most fun card in the deck, the level 1 event, Pulling an All-Nighter Gaming. This event does not have a stock cost. Rather, you have to tap 2 of your characters, and those characters cannot stand during your next stand phase. If you pay this cost, then you can search your deck for a character, then send a character from your waiting room to your stock, and then send this event to the bottom of the deck. Now we get to all those cards that go to memory, or change into other cards, or bounce back to hand. This card lets you thin your deck and gain stock, and usually tapping 2 that can't stand again would be a real cost, but in this deck it's basically free. For example, you have the level 0 runner who just survived on defense in your center stage, and the Amagi in the backstage. You tap these 2 cards when you play the event. Then you get your search, you get your stock, as well as knowledge as what is at the bottom of your deck. But the cost barely matters here because you're going to use the runner's effect to pay out what you just stock charged, and then you're going to send her to memory to mill your deck and add a character to hand. So it doesn't matter that she cannot stand. And then your climax, and then you pay 1 the plus off of the Amagi effect, and then plus again by bouncing the Amagi back to your hand. So in the end, for the cost of 1 stock, you more or less just blessed 3 times, gained memory compression, pumped one of your characters 1,000 power, milled off up to 4 characters at the top of your deck, thinned out your deck, and gained knowledge of the bottom of your deck, possibly avoiding having a climax stuck there and giving yourself another chance to draw into it later. This is pretty insane value for that card. So at this point, if you manage to get double or triple bar combo on your level 1 combo, you're probably going into your next turn with around 6 to 10 cards in hand after you start bouncing your level 1 combos back to your hand. That specific example should show why I'm torn over the ratios between the Riki and the Amagi. You can also tap 2 of the level 0 brainstorms with the event, do your thing with the event, then change the level 0 brainstorms into the level 1 variant, and still be able to brainstorm again. And I'm not even scraping the iceberg on all of the different ways that this event can be used with synergy with other cards' effects to provide advantage or recovery here. I run this event as a 3-of. I have considered moving it to 4-of because of how strong it is, but again, the ratios are very, very strict in this deck, so it's difficult to do. At level 2, we will start with a couple of counters. The first is Forced Interruption Eerie. This is an anti-change counter that sends the opposing character to memory for the cost of 2 hand. So you get a hard removal on an early play or standby wall, and the cost is negligible if the deck is doing what it's supposed to do, and you have more cards in hand that you know what to do with. I currently run this as a 1-of. And then the other counter is a free fresh counter. So when you play it, you can pay 2 stock to shuffle your waiting room back into your deck. You have a choice here between red and green though. The red is a set 2 uncommon called Feelings of Disgust Utaha, and the green is a set 1 promo called Stealthy Classmate Megami. Currently, I'm using the red mainly for a red fix, but you can really use either one. This is also currently a 1 of. And our final level 2. This is the third card in the change train that we've been talking about. This is Megami Before Goodnight. This card is what the level 1 brainstorm spawns after you send her to memory and pay 1. It's a level assist for characters in front of it, and at the beginning of your climax phase, if you're level 3 or higher, you can pay 1 stock, send her to memory to spawn your level 3 combo from grave. So the change train ends up basically being extra copies of your end game combo, while this assist also helps get your combo high enough to get the reverse that she needs. And of course, this card provides yet even more memory compression. Though at this point in the game, it might not matter if you're in a kill or be killed situation at level 3. And of course, this is another target for the event, since you can use the event, tap this character, then summon the level 3 combo over her. So it doesn't matter that she's tapped because you're going to sack her anyway, or send her to memory anyway. Or you can play over her with one of the brainstorms while she's tapped, then initiate that change train all over again, along with the brainstorm train. I currently run this as a 3 of for lack of space, but I might actually try to make it a 4 of if I can find a way to do it decently. And for level 3, we may as well start off with the level 3 combo. We just talked about this. It is the end of the change train, and the name is A New Story Megami. She gets effects depending on how much memory you have. If you have 2 cards in memory, she gains 2,000 power. If you have 3 cards in memory, she also gets your opponent cannot play backup from hand. And if you have 4 cards in memory, she also gains hexproof, which means she cannot be chosen by your opponent's effects, thereby turning off things like, scroll, things like tap counter, things like money counter, etc. She heals when she's played from hand, but she also heals when she's played by the effect of the 2/1. Her climax combo is on reverse, pay 1, and she burns 2. So in a typical game, she's base 12,000 power, but she's also hexproof and no backups. So she can pretty easily hit power levels anywhere from 12k to 8k with support from the cards that we've seen before. The assist, giving 2k power on attack, giving 2k power on play from the error redrop searcher, etc. So even in today's big-bodied English meta, it's not too difficult for her to get her reverses. And the change train in the event make getting 2 or 3 of her on the board almost as easy as getting 3 of the Marine level 3 combo from Hololive on the board. Obviously, this card's going to be a 4 of. That's no question there. Next up is our early play healer, Variety of Outfits Megami. She can come out early if your waiting room has 2 or fewer climaxes, and she heals on play. Her third effect gives 500 power times the number of other characters on attack, so she can synergize well with your level 3 combo, pumping her up another 2k in order to get her reverse. There's also synergy with your free fresh counter, and with all the tools that you have to mill out your deck, since she can basically become a free fresh counter in your turn by healing off the refresh point after a power mill party between all the effect synergies that we've talked about already. I run this as a 2 of out of necessity. There are just too many great tech cards to run more than 2, unfortunately. And our final card that most people don't run, but I like it as a 1 of at the end of the game. This is Illustration in Charge Error. This is also our only trial deck card. During her battle, your opponent cannot play backups, and her other effect is what I play her for. It's a dig for down X in your deck for a card, where X is the number of characters you have on the stage. I love these characters as like oh shit buttons. at the end of the game when I need to find the climax or another copy of the combo or something I can get to change into another copy of the combo. Most people don't run this card, but I love it as a one-of tech card. This is one of the cards that I've considered cutting though, for an extra 2/1 assist, the event, one of the level 0 cards that I'm not running 4 of, etc. There are also some other very useful tech cards out there you could find for your playstyle and local meta. For example, one that I don't have in my deck yet, but I've considered putting in, is a set 1 Utaha card called Victory Through Persistence Utaha. This is a rare that on play, she can neg an opposing character by 1k power, and she's a level 1 bomb. So she can help against the early version of your opponent's standby wall if you're playing against a standby deck. So overall, this deck is insanely efficient. The value of your low level cards is amazing, even in the late game, and you have a very, very smooth path to your end game, starting right from level 0. The hand size advantage actually allows you to sculpt for multiple different circumstances and outcomes, as well as possibly building 2 levels ahead sometimes if you wish. It's actually kind of similar to how you can sculpt your game very carefully with the Itsuki based deck from Quintessential Quintuplets. Due to her extra max hand size and the amount of plussing that the Itsuki level 1 combo is capable of, you have a lot of sculpting going on. This deck, it can be very, very similar. And then you transition to your kill turn, you have a ton of tools available to you to get multiple copies of your combo on the board and just wreck. Then even if your opponent survives your kill turn, you have so much memory compression, you probably still have a good chance of surviving even through their kill turn. Personally, I'm really hyped for English Saekano Flat because of how fun it's going to be to play. Even in my JP Fine deck, doing stupid stuff with the event and brainstorms is a blast, and it can get even stupider once Saekano Fine comes to English. But that's going to be a discussion for another video. As usual, feel free to comment. Don't forget to subscribe and share, and the Encore Decks link is going to be in the description. Until next time, this is the WeisSacKing signing off, hopefully not for a half year this time.